June the 14th of 2025. These are the 6 siblings, the children of Homer and Pearl Taylor. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ask each of you to give me your name going left to right, oldest to youngest, your name, your birth date, and where you were born.
Felix.
Marion Taylor.
Marion Taylor.
Thank you. Actually, it's Marion Felix Taylor.
Yeah.
Birthday.
But I don't use that, so
Oh,
the
it don't count?
Social Security said any alias is okay.
Okay.
So I was born in Whitley County somewhere. I don't exactly remember when I was.
You remember the day?
The date?
Yeah.
February the 3rd, 1936.
Zester Roy Taylor. I was born in a 2-room log cabin on top of Joe Campbell's Hill
You were born, I don't know.
in 1936, July 24th, 1936.
Hi. I'm Retha.
1936.
Retha Allen Lewis.
38. 38.
You're not a twin.
Trying to gain on you.
I'm the same age as you. I'm your twin.
We were twins.
All right.
I'm Retha Eileen Lewis-Hardin. Taylor.
That's backwards.
I know. I should have put Taylor before Lewis.
Yep.
I was born April 21st, 1941 in Corbin, Kentucky.
Ruth, Helen, Custer, Taylor, called Taylor Custer. I was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and they put a thing on the back of my birth certificate that says that my mother fell down the steps and that I wasn't taken to the doctor because my grandmother was there and she was a midwife that delivered me. And I believed that all my life until I was about 70 years old. My mother told me that that was a lie. She just didn't want to go to the doctor.
And what was the date? of your
It
birth?
was December the 19th, 1942.
Okay.
Hershel Homer Taylor, February 1945.
Where were you born?
Born in Cincinnati, Ohio. The only state in the Union that's round on both ends and high in the middle.
Ellis Calvin Taylor, May 24, 1949. And I was born in Corbin, Kentucky.
In the hospital. The only
In the
one.
hospital.
The only
That's-
one.
That is now a furniture warehouse.
All right. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, just to get things started, I'm going to ask each of you to just tell me one memorable, funny, ridiculous, terrible, I don't care what it falls in, something memorable, childhood story. And it can involve your siblings or not. And if the siblings don't like the way it's going, you're welcome to interject. So, Dad?
I'm going to tell one that happened while we lived on West Fork Road in Cincinnati.
West Fork in Cincinnati.
Yeah, West Fork in Cincinnati.
So you guys were, the family started in Kentucky, but you
Right. We moved to
migrated
Ohio
to Cincinnati.
during the Second World War.
You were immigrants.
Yeah.
Illegal immigrant.
We crossed the Ohio River.
And so I'll tell the story, then Zester can embellish it because it involved both of us.
Okay.
When we lived up there at our Uncle Matt Rose's farm, had a big pasture field, and we got up in that pasture field and played a lot. But we got into scraps sometime. One time we were fighting like cats and dogs, and Dad came up and caught us. He took us down to the back porch and said, "Okay, now fight it out." We fought it out, and I bloodied Zester's nose.
Felix.
But guess what? I got a whipping with a switch.
While I was sent home to Mom to get my bloody nose repaired.
All right. Zester, your turn.
Okay, I'm going to tell a story on Felix. Now, after we lived in Kentucky, we moved to Ohio. Then Mom and Dad bought a farm, the old P. Ellison farm down Grove, Kentucky, which is now Grove Recreational Area. And Dad told us a story one time Felix and I, told us if you got a limber hickory switch, you could actually tickle a black snake to death. Well, Felix believed this, and he and I were walking out the sandy road to a little area we call the Little Acre, and here, lo and behold, here comes a black snake across the road. He told me, "You keep that snake hemmed in the road while I cut me a switch." He took out his handy little Barlow and went up on the bank, cut out a switch. He came back down there, and he was taking that and tickling that black snake with it. And that black snake took one leap, wrapped around his leg, and he went about 6 feet straight up in the air.
And Ruth is glad that wasn't her.
Yes.
Because
She had a heart attack.
Terrified of him.
yeah. The black snake lived.
The black snake lived and left. And Felix, I think that might have been his first heart attack.
All right, Retha.
Well, I'll tell you one about me and Ruth. Ruth had knocked her arm out of place, and they took her to the doctor. The doctor put her in a sling and couldn't find anything wrong with her. So she couldn't hardly move her arm. So when we lived on the farm, we had steps that went to the boys' room, and it was all enclosed. Well, I got her up on them steps, and I said, I was a nasty little girl. Hold this. I said, she had her arm in a sling. Yeah. Was. I'm not a nasty little girl now.
You're still a little girl.
Well, that's beside the point. Anyway, I told her, I said, Ruth, let me see your arm. And she was always gullible. She takes her arm out of the sling and hands it to me, and I go, whoop, and it popped in one place. I got a spanking for it.
All right, Ruth.
Well, I don't remember too much when I was real young, but I do remember this story. You know, Zester may correct me on some of it. I was a teenager, and Mother did not drive. Now, Zester had worked at a gas station. He bought his first car. I think it was a Hornet, wasn't it? It looked like a big blowfish.
It's a Hornet.
Hudson Hornet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his first car.
No, it wasn't a Hornet. That was a Hudson Wasp.
Oh, wasp?
Wasp,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Well, it still looked like a blowfish, you know, blown up. And he was so proud of that car. And, you know, Dad was not nuts. Mother wanted to learn how to drive. And he wasn't about to let her drive his car. So she talked Zester into letting her drive his car. And she was coming around the curve at the top of Main Street where we lived. And it was like a big gully went down, and then there was a house down there. Well, guess what? Mother didn't make that curve, and his car went down into that gully.
Dog runner off the road.
What
Was it?
what made her miss the curve? We were going up the street, and she was fine till a neighbor's dog ran out and was grabbing at the lug nuts on the car, and Mom floorboarded the car, went around the corner, and it shot out in the air on top of all the brush in this guy's yard, and took the radiator, the front grill, everything out of the car. And there we sit with all 4 wheels off of the ground, so we had to cut the trees down a little bit to get the car.
Well, I remember the steam coming out of it. I ran up there. I was like 8 months pregnant.
Was anyone riding in the car with her when this?
Just Mom and I.
Oh, you were in the car with her.
Yeah.
How long was it before any of the rest of you would ride with her? Took a while.
She finally paid for somebody to teach
Yeah.
her how to drive.
Oh,
Yeah, an Indian Hill Ranger taught her how to drive.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like a police officer?
Yes.
Taught her how to drive.
Taught her how to drive. Everybody else was afraid of her.
He also told her she talked to him, and he said, "You'll be a good driver because you talk to them, to people."
All right. Hershel.
Well, I got a couple of them. One is about these two that's sitting on the right of me here.
Uh-oh.
My 2 sisters that always blame me for making them scared of snakes
Yes.
because I used to chase them all the time with
And
snakes.
wrap them around our plates.
But
Wrap around your what?
Plate.
the,
We'd get rubber ones and wrap them around our dinner plate.
Yeah.
I think that was me.
the
Oh, was
truth,
that you?
The truth be known, Ruth and Retha were on their way to Grandma and Grandpa's when we lived down at Grove.
No.
Ruth stepped over a black snake, screamed, turned around, and jumped back over it and ran home. So they were scared of snakes long before I started catching snakes and chasing them with them.
But you did torture them with.
Oh, a little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
yeah.
got to do that.
Yeah, you
And
said
then
you was
Ellis
going to put
over
on
here.
bed, our bed.
Ellis over here, if he's not right sometimes, I guess I could be partly blamed for that. Because I remember one time we were up at Stone Lick Creek camping out, was swimming up there with Dad and everybody. And Ellis was out in the water, and I told him to go down, and I'd skip a rock over him. Well, as I skipped that rock, about the third skip it made, it hit him right on top of the head. Ended our swimming trip. We had to go home and patch the top of his head
No
up.
wonder.
I don't remember it.
You don't remember it? It was
Another time there on Quail Lane, there was a gravel pit right up from us. Ellis went up one wash, and I went up the other one. I said, "Hey, Ellis, catch this rock." I threw it over there and it went thump. I said, "Uh-oh." Ellis had a hole on top of his head where that rock hit him.
No wonder Mother used. He wanted a science. He wanted a science kit, and Mother and Dad bought him a science kit for Christmas
Chemistry
one
set.
year. Huh?
Chemistry set.
Chemistry set. Yeah.
Was Ellis
and
wanted this?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was in the basement, and Mother said, "You know, I sure hope he don't blow us up one day."
All right. You're up.
I didn't blow us up.
You what?
I didn't blow us up.
Oh,
I mixed up a lot of chemicals, but none of them were ever explosive, apparently.
How old were you when you got this?
Oh, he's about
12 or 13.
12, I'd say. 10, no, I'd say more like 11, 10 or 11.
I don't remember.
It was on Main Street.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know. I have some vague memories.
I had a little chemistry laboratory down there where I mixed stuff together.
Yeah.
Nothing blew up, but some of it didn't smell too good.
That's true.
For some reason, I have some vague memories of this. Maybe you did this for a while.
Yeah.
Sounds like something I don't know. So, what's your story?
So it's my turn. The funniest one that I can think of, when Zester came back from Germany from being in the army, he was trying to get a job, and how old was I? When did you come back from Germany?
I came back in 1959.
So I was 10 years old. And a lot of people don't know what they are now, but rolls of what they call bang caps that went a cap pistol. I took them and cut out the explosive part, and he was sleeping in my bedroom while he looked for a job, and I took his cigarettes one night and I picked out the tobacco out of the cigarettes, and I put several bang caps down inside the cigarettes. And then I stuffed the tobacco back in it and put it back in the pack and forgot about it. Well, a few days later, he was interviewing for a job, and he offered the interviewer a cigarette. Luckily, he didn't take it, but Zester took one out of his pack and lit it up and put it in the ashtray. And for some reason, all of a sudden, it exploded. And the guy looked at him kind of weird and said, "Thank you, we'll call you." I don't think he ever heard from him.
Oh, he's not innocent. One year at Thanksgiving, he tied all our shoestrings together under the table. And this one
that.
used to always drink my milk every time because he was too lazy to go get his own.
Who?
This one.
Zester.
He'd always,
Zester would always drink your milk?
yeah,
I
you'd
needed the
talk, he'd
vitamin
say,
D.
get me to look at something else and grab my milk and drink it.
Or else
Well,
he would take his fork
It
and
was a family type thing. I mean, I was sitting at the dinner table one time. This one was sitting beside of me, and I knew she was going to steal food off of my plate. So I put my green beans on my plate, and I put some hot peppers, which looked like green beans, right beside of them. Stacked them up nice and neat. Now, me, I can eat those. They don't bother me. But she's sitting there eating away, and I'm just kind of watching, and pretty soon I saw that fork coming. And I'm saying, "No, no, no." And she went, "Oh, oh," stuck that hot pepper right in her mouth, and she didn't eat off of my plate after that.
he used to do the same to me.
Explains a lot.
He used to do the same to me. He used to sneak over, he'd look somewhere and sneak over and get my food.
All right.
I'll tell you one on me now. I don't know how old I was, but we lived on the P. Ellison farm. The back bedroom had a door with no steps going to it, and it was up about that high off the ground. Well, I heard these two in the back room playing, and I have my trusty pea shooter. I load my mouth with peas, and I flatten myself against the wall and scoot over next to the door.
First, you should tell him who was there taking care of us.
Huh?
You should tell him who's there taking care of us.
Well, Granny was there, but I didn't know Granny walked into the room. And I'm flat against the wall, and I got my pea shooter, and I swung out, and I let it go with every bit of breath I had.
And Granny
was standing there looking at me as I swung around. The peas hit her right in here, and her false teeth flew out. And when I saw that, I started running, and I found the tallest oak tree I could find on the other side of a field, and I stayed in the top of that tree till I think sunset. So Granny, she didn't ever come after me, and I think she'd forgot about it by the time I come down.
Tell us who we're talking about when you say Granny.
Huh?
Tell us who you're talking about when you say Granny.
Granny Cup.
Okay.
Nanny Cup, that's everybody in the county called her Granny.
That was Mother's mother.
Yeah.
She was midwife to half of the people in Whitley County, I think, at that time.
Okay.
She delivered me when I was born.
And me.
And him.
Not me. She was there whenever I was born.
All right. So, tell me some of your best memories about either your mother or father or both. Let's start with Dad and go down this way. Think about that one for a minute. If someone has something they want to start, you
Mom
start.
always told me that Dad walked a half a mile in a snowstorm to get the doctor to deliver me in 1945. Big snowstorm. She said there's probably 6 or 8 inches of snow, and Dad walked a half a mile to get the doctor and bring him back.
In Ohio.
In Ohio, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I remember when Mother was pregnant with me.
You
She
remember
had-
that? Remember that?
Mother told me.
Well,
Okay, Mother told me.
Man, she's got an early memory.
Well, I should.
You
No
got a
wonder
great
she
memory,
remembers
sis.
things I don't remember.
I know. She doesn't remember.
Okay.
Doesn't remember what she had for lunch, but she remembers when. her
Of
mom was
course.
pregnant with her.
Yeah.
Mother told me when she was pregnant with me. Okay, can we start that way?
Sure.
Yes.
That she got the old German measles, and back then they didn't know what to do for them, so they kept them in a dark room, and everything. And my grandmother was there, and the doctor, she had a doctor, and he was wanting to abort me, and my grandmother wouldn't let him because she said she wanted that baby. That was my God blessing face.
Nice. How about you, Dad?
You don't remember when you were born?
No.
Go ahead, Felix. Tell about the time Dad used to make you and Zester fight with boxing gloves.
That's what I did.
You already told me.
Haven't you
See,
been
you
listening?
don't remember that, but you do
You
remember.
awake yet?
She was born, yeah.
I think she's still asleep.
Sure. I remember
Tell us just something about your mom or dad that
Better long-term
that's-
memory than short.
is
That's
something
right.
you'll always remember.
I remember Dad loved Boy Scouts.
Yep.
I was in Boy Scouts with him. We were an Indian Hill troop. We made a trip to Washington, D.C. and camped out up there. And had a great time as far as I can remember. I remember climbing to the top of the Washington Monument. That's when you could still climb up there. I never make it through the 10 steps now, but we made it all the way to the top and looked out the hole at the top back then. That was in 58, I guess, or 59.
Which one of you buried your eggs and couldn't find them?
No, it was somebody else in a troop
Well,
that
another
buried
troop. We
ground
went up-
beef.
We did a winter
Ground
camp
beef?
out. Yeah, we did a winter camp out when the eggs froze solid. We had to peel the shell off of them and put them in the skillet to let them thaw out to be able to fry them.
And how long was your dad a scout leader?
Well, he went in when I did in, I think it was 56 or 57. And he even started his own troop there in Remington, Ohio. And we
And
had
he was
it
still
till
a scoutmaster when I came home from service in '59, and he wanted me to teach his scouts how to march in formation. Boy, did I find out they all had left feet.
I remember my dad being a big ginseng hunter. He used to love to climb the mountains and look for ginseng.
Yeah. You did a lot of that with him, didn't you?
We all,
Yeah. Now, you know, Dad worked for the American Can Company, and about 50 was it? They shut down, and he came back to the farm
Yeah.
because he wouldn't move to New York with them.
So they shut down in Cincinnati, and
In
he came back to
Cincinnati.
Whitley
He
County.
came back to go to farm for a living.
Okay.
Well,
while he was doing that, they took the ferry out from above Cumberland Falls and was replacing it with a bridge. Dad cut some of the stone that's in that bridge there today.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Well,
very few of them because they said,
he
said
didn't get along
his
with the boss.
his politics wasn't right, so they let him go.
okay.
But anyway, what I was going to tell was we were working down in the field one day, and there was a squirrel. I guess the dogs treated it high in the top of a tree, and so I shot at it once or twice and missed. He said, "Now, you can't kill a squirrel unless you shoot it in the eye." He took the gun and right in the eye, first shot.
How far away was it?
It was
Top of the tree?
about 50 foot up in the air.
Okay.
Mm.
Well, that's how you kill a squirrel, huh? Shoot it in the eye.
Yeah, you got to shoot him in the eye.
Kill him, okay.
That way you get good squirrel meat to eat.
Oh, you don't want to ruin the meat because there's
No,
hardly
you
any
don't
meat
want
on the
to.
squirrel.
Ain't much meat there to begin with, so you got to save every bit you can.
We'll come back and get you.
I remember another squirrel story. And a bunch of us and Grandma was out walking around one time, and this squirrel was up in a tree, and I think it was Zester was going to climb up there and shake it out. And he went up there and he started that little squirrel. It was a flying squirrel, and that thing come flying towards me, and I said, "I got it!" And I grabbed it. And when I did, he bit me right through there, and he held on.
It was
And I think Zester and Grandma had to pry his jaws apart to get him off of me. I was
Felix
glad to get
and I
rid of him.
both that climbed the tree and pushed a stick in the hole to scare the flying squirrel out, and he sailed out through there, and we're yelling, "Hershel, get it!" And he did.
I got it. He got me. At the same time, but that's not near as bad as Zester twisting a rabbit out of the hole with a fork and stick.
What?
With a fork stick. I don't remember that.
You don't remember taking that fork and stick, sticking it in the hole, and twisting in that rabbit hair, and pulling that skunk out?
Oh, well. Well, the
I
one-
don't know about the twisting it out, but when we first moved back to the farm, Zester decided to become a trapper.
Mom
Gonna
helped
catch
me.
animals for fur and sell those furs.
Okay.
And under the cliff, there was a hole that went back in there, and he thought sure, or knew for sure there was an animal going in there. So he got a steel trap from Grandpa and set it in there, and it didn't catch anything.
I caught a two-tone kitty with a fluid drop.
So when Dad come home on the weekend, Zester told Dad, said, "I've been trying to trap, but I can't catch anything." So Dad went and looked at his trap, and the hole was big enough that the animal could walk around his trap. So Dad showed you how to put sticks in there and block off the hole, so it had to come over his trap. So the next day, when he went down there to check on it, the trap was pulled way back inside the hole. So he said, went run and to Mom and said, "Mom, I got something caught. Come and help me. Come and help me." So he goes down. They pull that animal out of there, and it was a skunk, and it dosed both of them good.
Mm-hmm.
Got plenty of scent on them.
I got even with that skunk though. There's a hole of water right above there, and I took it up there and baptized it.
All right, let's try this question. What is the best piece of advice that either your mom or your dad ever gave you? Think about that. Either mom or dad. What's the best piece of advice?
My dad. I was getting ready to get married to my first husband, Paul, and the phone rang. Everybody left. Dad and I were getting ready to go to the church. And, excuse me, the phone rang. And it was this guy. He'd just come in. He was in the Air Force, and he wanted to know if I wanted to go out on a date that night. And I told him, no, I'm on my way to the church to get married. And I hung up, and my dad said, if you had any sense, you'd go on that date. He was right.
Anybody else? All right, you got any questions for each other? Oh, well, hold on a second. You were talking about picking on each other. So who was the hardest on who?
Everybody was hard on me.
Everybody was?
Everybody was hard on me because they were all jealous that I was the baby of the family.
Yeah,
Oh no,
that's
they
not
had him.
Poor little
He
guy.
wasn't made to do work or anything. He was the prima donna of the family.
See what I mean?
And Ruth and I tried.
See what I mean?
Still going, huh?
Ruth and I tried.
They
to take
still
care
got
of
they still got the grudge.
He was spoiled rotten.
Oh
Ruth,
yeah.
Ruth and I tried to take care of him, and we set him in a chair, and dang, he wouldn't sit in that chair. He went through the back of it.
Yeah.
We got to spank him because he hit his head.
Oh, yeah. I think did I hear that Dad was pretty hard on Zester? You guys, I heard about that fight you mentioned. I just wondered, you two got along great. You never had any issues at all, did you?
No.
She was my bully.
I always was mean to her. Took her behind the door. She had real curly hair. And I took her behind the door on West Fork Road and cut that curl out of her face.
And I came out and Mom said, Ruth, who cut your curl off? Because it hung down my forehead. And I said, Weefa got a spanking.
You guys have any questions for him?
I was just thinking you're telling Grandpa's stories, but one of the things I remember about Grandma is how cards were not allowed in her house.
Right.
Tell about that.
Playing
Why?
cards.
Playing cards, yeah.
Yeah, playing cards. Couldn't
Gambling cards.
Well, that's because where she was raised in Hazard or Harlan County, yeah,
The coal camps.
they would get into fights over card games and they'd kill each other. And she just felt that she didn't want that in her life.
Well, Mother never let us go take cards in her house either.
Right. Well, yeah, Mom too.
Yeah.
She was fairly strict with you, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
very
yeah.
strict.
Yeah.
I stayed in trouble most of the time.
Most of the time. Who was in the most trouble?
Well, Zester and I used to always say we were the skeletons in the closet because we were the two that stayed in trouble most of the time.
You and Zester?
Yeah.
Mom always said if there's something that could be gotten into, somebody to get into something, it would be me.
Yeah.
That's why I cut my finger off when I was 5 years old. I got Dad's hatchet that he had hid. Of course, you couldn't hide anything from me. I found the hatchet, and my aim wasn't too good at 5, and I chopped that finger off.
Well, it was. You got your finger, didn't you?
Huh?
Good aim on your finger.
Yeah. I cut it off there. They sewed it back on. I hit it there with an axe, and they sewed it all back together. I had good use of that for like 80 years, and just a couple years ago I let a little grinder get away, and it caught me right there. Now I have no feeling on this side of the finger.
You don't
But all
like
of
that
that
finger.
time after cutting it off, it was fine. Now just a little cut, no feeling.
So
I
what happened?
remember one story too about Ruth sticking a hatchet in the top of her head.
I don't remember that. I was 3
She-
years old.
That thing that happened is the boys, we lived on West Fork Road. There was a shed above us in the backyard. The boys always took our dolls and ran them up there and put them on the roof and laughed at us.
The boys.
Yeah.
The boys.
Well, it was
And their
these
friend,
two.
what was his name? Eddie. He was
Eddie
redheaded.
Red-headed Eddie Rubel.
Yeah.
And they laughed at us. And Ruth, they was down by the house. They had a little hatchet. And I don't know why she picked it up, but she picked it up and she says, I'm going to chop you guys into it. Well, the axe part was back toward her head and she cut her head open and
I
back.
don't remember that because I was 3 years old, Mike.
She remembered she's going to chop
And
her
it was a head injury.
head.
All right.
I have a grandpa story that involves Uncle Felix and Dad. They can either confirm or deny this.
All right.
Grandpa told me that y'all three went hunting and y'all separated and said you was going to come back to the camp in like a couple hours.
That was when Paul Steely was
And
school teacher.
Dad and Grandpa made it back to camp, but Uncle Felix was late. And they knew he didn't shoot anything because they didn't hear any gunshots. So when he finally did make it back to camp, they asked him what was wrong.
An hour or two later.
Yeah. He says, I was out there walking. He says, I came across this stump in the path, this log down, and I stepped over it, turned around, and there was a rattlesnake there. He said, that didn't bother me. He said, I set my gun down, I picked up a stick, and I beat it to death. When I figured out what I had to do, I had to sit down and think about it.
He had to sit and shake for a while to realize what he'd done.
Have you still got those rattlers? You used to have them.
I used to. I don't know whether it has.
What were they?
It was.
I don't
The
know.
rattles
he cut
off
the
the
tail off.
rattlesnake.
Oh, you
There's
kept.
rattlers. He kept them, but I don't know what he said. He don't know what he did with them.
I don't remember those.
He had them for a long time.
You kept the tail. Well,
He was pretty proud of it.
yeah, not a deer head, but you
Yeah.
know,
Hey, it was a conquest. It,
It
didn't
was a
bite
conquest,
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
You would have been a conquest for you, wouldn't
Oh,
it?
it would have definitely.
Any other questions, guys?
Did y'all have any family traditions growing up? Things y'all did weekly, yearly?
We went to
Each
church.
other.
Yeah, fight. Well, we just, we like siblings didn't always get along, but Dad always liked to play games, and he always had us playing games, and it didn't matter who won or lost as long as we had fun.
We got the four-way checkerboard. Dad brought that
Listen,
design home back in the 40s, I think,
When I peed in.
from
Oh.
the can company where he worked. He had the design of that four-way checkerboard, and we painted it onto a piece of plywood, and we still today play four-way checkers
I
in
got
this
that.
family, and it all started
the-
way
I got
back
the-
then.
You got the blueprints.
And at one
I got
point
the
in
I got the
time,
plywood.
I tried to get that
I don't do
patented,
that, yeah.
and they told me no, you can't because you don't have any idea where it originated from or anything. And so we dropped it, and lo and behold, a few years later, some company's coming out now with four-way checkerboards.
And I got
Yeah,
the
but they don't
original
have the-
plywood board.
Huh?
I have the original plywood board.
You still have it?
I have
still
the
have it.
original
Is that a
paper.
bird out there on the ceiling?
They had a bird out there on the ceiling.
Oh, look on the porch ceiling.
On the,
Here.
I'm looking on the porch ceiling.
See it?
Over
Pass
on
it.
Anyway, I got
over
the
on the lake.
paper
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Dad
Yeah, that's a
drew
bird.
the four-wheel.
Oh, you
for.
got it. All right. All right.
So
Okay.
what other games? I mean, like, I remember aggravation being a big game.
Aggravation,
Aggravation. There
trouble.
On
There
the
was
farm, it
Chinese
was tree
checkers.
tag.
Chinese checkers.
Tree tag. You remember tree tag?
Oh yeah, I always
When we
wanted
used
to
to climb
do
the
that.
trees and we'd swing from tree to tree and tag and catch somebody.
Tree
Yeah.
tag,
And if you touched the ground, you were it.
yeah, and that was out
What
in
was
the
one we had
Hensley
sitting by the
Decker
fire
pine forest. It was just an old
Like
field
pine
that
thicket.
grown up
We
in
played.
pine trees, and Dad would climb
I
a
know there was
tree,
one we used to
and we
play all
would
the time.
climb up after him, and he
I
would
know he loved Chinese
bend
checkers.
treetops, and we'd go for ever through the treetops. But if you fell, you was out. Of course, if you fell, going down through them tree limbs would kind of skin you up a little bit too.
Yeah.
Did,
Okay. Anyone have any last minute thoughts before we wrap this up? Because I know Dad and Zester and Retha and Hershel and Ellis are going.
I believe we had the greatest mother
Our
and father
wives.
in the world.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. They taught us the best things. And Dad always wanted us to read the Bible, but Some of us didn't take that up right away.
All right. Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Thank you.